Howdy, nerdy romantics. This episode of the podcast is going to talk about what you'll see from Nerdy Romantics podcast in 2024. Stay with us. This is the Nerdy Romantics podcast, and I'm your host, Y.M. Nelson. Hello, nerdy romantics. So today we're talking about all the good things that I've got for you in 2024 on Nerdy Romantics podcast. The first thing that's already actually been going on for about a month now is that I am now on YouTube. So Nerdy Romantics podcast is on YouTube at my YouTube channel. And that is youtube.com at author YM Nelson. So what are you going to see on this podcast channel, on this channel? Well, you will see the podcast. You will see also a couple of things that I've been doing lately. I have been reviewing rom-coms and other nerdy romantic kinds of things that I've been watching on the weekend in some mini reviews. And those are in my YouTube shorts. So I have a few playlists there that will talk about those reviews, which actually leads me into what we're really changing on the podcast this season, I'm calling it, which that's another change. We haven't actually done seasons, but now we are going to do seasons of the podcast. And in this season, the 2024 season, we are going to get back to book reviews. As of 2023, you probably saw that we did a lot of reviews of movies, of TV shows, but we didn't do a lot of book reviews. And essentially, that's why I started the podcast. I wanted to talk about romance novels that I loved, fantasy novels, sci-fi, and a little bit nerd pop culture as well. So this is not off topic for the podcast. We didn't go off the rails when we review Batman or Star Trek. Those are things that, yes, I definitely wanted to talk about, but I also wanted to talk about those books that we love that are also in the same arenas as these TV shows and these movies. And a lot of times the TV shows and the movies do come from the books. Like, for instance, Bridgerton, which is going to have another season come out in 2024. And yes, we are going to talk about Bridgerton this year. We are not going to not talk Bridgerton because I know that you love that. Those episodes got some of the highest number of downloads. So I know you love that. So we are definitely going to talk that. But I also want to put in a lot more author interviews. And I do want to do more book reviews than what we did last year, and more book reviews in the areas that I've just talked about, which is why I started the podcast, because I wanted to talk about these books that I love so much. And I know that there are people out there who actually love talking about all these things together. They love romance novels. You love superhero movies, Marvel and DC. You love Star Trek or Star Wars. You love Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones. And so I want to put all of these kind of things together in this podcast. That's the whole point of being out here. And Now that there is this new genre out there that has mixed romance and fantasy, they call it romantasy. I want to get into it. That's right up our alley. That's what we would love. So, want to bring those books to you on the podcast. And we do have at least one author already lined up for the 2024 season, Geneva Lee, and she is going to talk about her new release called Filthy Rich Fae, which is in that romantasy genre. So I can't wait to talk to authors and can't wait to review books with my co-hosts, which I know you love those reviews. So I can't wait to do all of that here in this season and get back to books. Well, I also know that even though I like talking about these things, and I have people on who also like talking about these things, I also know that you like talking about these things. If I am interviewing an author or I'm getting together with my co host and doing a podcast recording, sometimes when we cut the camera off and we stop recording, we're still talking. And we may still talk for a good half hour. Sometimes we've even kept talking for an hour. And if we're still talking, about the fun we had recording the podcast and the topic of the podcast, and we're still talking about these things, then I know that you're out there talking about these things too. And so that's why I wanted to create a community where you can express how you feel about these particular topics that we're talking about on the podcast. Last year, I created my Buy Me a Coffee page because I wanted to start a community there and get the folks who really love these topics to come together. And so, in doing that, I realized that probably needed to do a little more there than just give you premium episodes. You probably actually want to talk with other folks there. And so there actually wasn't a community gathered there yet. But I am going to do my best to make it a community. And in order to do that, I need your ideas on it. I need your opinion on what you want to see there. So drop a comment if you're on YouTube or if you are seeing this on Nerdy Romantics Podcast. Drop a comment and let me know what you'd like to see in that community if you wanted to be a part of that community. Also, if you're not on YouTube or if you're not at a place where you can drop a comment, then send me an email at podcast@nerdyromanticspodcast.com. Let me know if you really are interested in creating a Nerdy Romantics community, and if so, what you'd like to see there. I know there are a few things that I would like to do that get you more involved in the community, but I would like to know what you'd like to see. For those who are already part of the community on Buy Me a Coffee, those I'm going to send out an email to just let you know what's going on with the community and to give you an opportunity as well to talk about what you want to see. You If you are a Nerdy Romantics lead and you're getting those premium episodes, you will still get those premium episodes, the community. If you just want the premium episodes and you don't want to be part of the community, those will still be available. And all of that's on my site at nerdyromantics.com. So, what's coming up for my books? Well, I have two things on pre order. And the first is Secret Second Chances. And Secret Second Chances is a second chance romance, friends to lovers romance, and it has a suspenseful twist. So, this story is the story of Owen and Michaela, and they are coming back together after being apart for almost 20 years. They are coming back together to their 20-year college reunion. And yes, if you've been following me for a while, you probably already know that there's a story out there called the Owen and Michaela trilogy. And yes, this is going to be a rewrite of that particular trilogy. We're expanding it to give you more story, give you more background on Owen and Michaela and what they went through. And I'm making it a little bit steamier as well. So, for those of you who read it when it first came out, it's going to be similar in some ways, but in essence, it's really a whole different story. It starts out completely different and it actually gives you a more satisfying, I think, HEA for this one. So, for those of you who are not familiar with the Owen and Michaela trilogy and want to get it, you will need to get it now because it will be gone on March 6th. And that is because Secret Second Chances is coming out March 5th, and that is replacing the O&M trilogy. So if you're wondering how they started out and you want to see that before you read Secret Second Chances, then I suggest that you get that now. It is in ebook form only, and it is pretty much everywhere you can find an ebook. It's at all the major retailers, but it's only going to be there until March 6th. Secret Second Chances is on pre order right now, and it will be released on March 5th on Amazon, and it will be in Kindle Unlimited for a limited Kindle Unlimited for a limited time. And right now it's in ebook format only, but we may release that in paperback if you guys want it in paperback. If you folks want it in paperback, we'll release it in paperback. The second thing that's out there on pre order now is the Accidental Swipe ebook. So, the Accidental Swipe has been out since July of last year. It's my debut novel, and it is book one of the Accidental Lovers series. It follows Jason and Fortune, and there are a couple of 40 somethings that are a little bit jaded on love. So, we've got the jaded lovers trope there, and they are, let's be honest, they're forced by their friends to go online at this particular site and find someone at that site, and they find each other. But they're pretty jaded, so it takes them a while before they can realize that they are meant for each other. The Accidental Swipe is right now in ebook. It's only on Amazon, but on February 1st, it will be everywhere. So get a copy if you've been waiting for a copy of the Accidental Swipe to come out at your favorite ebook retailer, or maybe you've even been waiting for it to come out where you can request it at the library. Then it will be out on February 1st. So go pick that up. And because we've got book one out, we got to have book two out. So, book two of the Accidental Lover series, it's called The Accidental Proposal, and that will be out summer of this year. So, make sure that you are subscribed to my newsletter in order to get all the sneak peeks and look at all the cover reveals first. All the first really come out in the newsletter. just go to ymnelson.com/subscribe, and you can subscribe to get that newsletter. And with that newsletter, you also get a free copy of a story that I did called Stardate. It obviously, it's a Star Trek Trekkie romance. No, these are not actual characters on Star Trek. These are humans that actually go to a Star Trek convention. So it's very nerd pop culture, not sci-fi romance, but it's very close to that sci-fi feeling. And this is just a cute story. A lot of folks love this story and want me to expand on it. We'll see about that. But The Accidental Lovers Book 2, The Accidental Proposal, will be out in summer. And to be notified of that, you got to be on the newsletter. That way you get all of the notifications. So that's it for me. And that's it for this episode. Make sure if you're on YouTube that you like this episode and subscribe to this channel so that you can get the episodes as soon as they drop. If you're listening to this on audio, make sure that you're also subscribed to whatever podcast provider that you're listening to. If you are on my website listening to this or watching this on my website, make sure you're subscribed to my newsletter, ymnelson.com/subscribe. And that way you can get all of the podcast news right in your email inbox for each month. Stay tuned to see all the wonderful things that are going to happen on the podcast in 2024. Thank you for listening. While that's the end of our discussion, it's not the end of the story, so to speak. We now have premium episodes, which you can get in your feed, wherever you listen to podcasts, or in your inbox if you listen on nerdyromanticspodcast.com. And if you want to know more about the Nerdy Romantics world, sign up for our newsletter. Visit my website at nerdyromanticspodcast.com for more details. Now that's the end of the story. Until next time, thank you for listening.